Welcome back to another video, and today we got our 2024 MLB playoff predictions. So we're going to go through every single series from the wild card all the way up to the World Series and decide who we think is going to win this year's MLB playoffs. Real quick before we get started though, if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we post. Not only do we do MLB content, but we do college football and NFL content every single week. When NBA and college basketball get going, we'll be having videos of those every single week. So if any of that interests you, make sure you get on there, subscribe to the channel. Real quick before we get into the picks, though, links in the description as always: X, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Follow those, join those. With that all being said, though, let's just jump right on into the bracket. So here we have the playoff bracket. And our first matchup we're going to look at is the top left. It's going to be the Detroit Tigers going to Houston to take on the Astros. Now, these teams didn't really finish with much of a difference in record, only about a two-game difference between the two. The Astros win their division, so they get the home field advantage here, and I think that's pretty key here. When looking at the Tigers, Tariq Skubal, crazy season from him. The Tigers have actually had a lot of guys step up. Matt Vierling, Colt Keith is a name to know. Riley Green, Wenzel Perez. Uh, it's it's a pretty solid team. Spencer Torkelson as well. I already mentioned Tariq Skubal. Kenta Maeda is there. He's been pitching. They got Jack Flaherty as well. I think he's out for the year though. Um, it's an interesting team. It's a fun team for sure. When looking at the Astros, though, they just got a lot of guys who know how to get it done in the playoffs. Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, Yammer Diaz, Alex Bregman. Uh, I mean, it's tough here to convince myself to take the Tigers in this one. Framber Valdez on the mound, Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco. It's a pretty good rotation here in Houston. I'm gonna actually take the Astros in two games over the Tigers. I think they could be close games, but I think the Astros have the matchup advantage here, and I think they do end up winning in this one. Moving on to our next AL wildcard game, and that's going to be the Kansas City Royals going to Baltimore to take on the Orioles. Now, in this series, it's a bit of a difference in record, I guess. 5-game difference here. Bobby Witt Jr. taking on the young Orioles team. Both these teams very young. This is going to be a very fun series. Two, like I said, young teams. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez over there, Miguel Garcia, um, Seth Lugo on the mound for the Royals, along with Cole Ragans, who's posting a 3.14 ERA. The Royals actually have some pretty good pitching over there. When looking at the Orioles, though, I do believe the Orioles are one of the best teams in the league. I mean, hitting-wise, Gunnar Henderson, Anthony Santander, Adley Rutschman, Ryan Mountcastle, Cedric Mullins, Jordan Westburg, Ramon Urias. I mean, you could keep going. Pitching-wise, man, Corbin Burns, what an addition for them. He's posting a sub-3 ERA this year. They got a lot of guys as well, defensively, in the bullpen. I am going to go with the Orioles, but I do think the Royals could actually win a game just because Bobby Witt Jr. is that electric. Maybe Seth Lugo gets them there. I think they can win a game, but I think the Orioles do end up winning in 3 games. When looking at the NL wildcard games, the Brewers take on the Mets. The Mets and the Braves get in after they split the doubleheader earlier today, and knocked the Diamondbacks out of the playoffs. So unfortunate for the Diamondbacks there, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles. The Mets get in after a great season, really just turned it around halfway through the year, and they end up getting here. So good on the Mets for doing that. We'll talk about them a little bit first. Francisco Lindor making a strong case for MVP this year. He could arguably be the MVP. 273, batting average 91 RBIs. along with 33 home runs. I mean, that's a pretty good stat line there. Pete Alonso over there in New York. Brandon Nimmo. You got J.D. Martinez, Jeff McNeil, Mark Vientos, Starling Marte, Harrison Bader. It's a very good team. Jose Iglesias. Um, when looking at pitching wise, they got Luis Severino, they got Sean Manaea, they got Jose Quintana. It's a nice group of guys there. When looking at the Brewers this year, not so much pitching wise like typical. They are actually more of a hitting team this year. Willie Adames, William William Contreras, Bryce Terang, Jackson Churio, Reese Hoskins, Christian Yelich. I mean, they have a pretty solid hitting lineup here. Ultimately, I think they get past the Mets. I just think they're slightly better, but I could definitely see this one going either way. I'm going to say the Brewers win in 3. This is a pretty close one, but the Brewers won uh, 93 games this year. I think they're a little bit better than the Mets, so I'm going to take them. But this one definitely could see it going either way. When looking at this last series, the Padres take on the Braves. The Braves end up getting in after. Honestly, I thought there was no chance they would get in. They get in as the 5 seed, with the same record as the Mets and the Diamondbacks. They have the tiebreaker over all of them, so that's good on them, I guess. We could talk about the Braves first. When looking at the Braves, they've had a multitude of injuries this season, but they still got Marcell Ozuna, still got Matt Olson, still got Ozzie Albies, still got Orlando Arcia. I mean, Travis Denard, Jared Kelenic, Austin Riley. It's still a loaded team here. Pitching wise, obviously they lose Spencer Strider, but Chris Sale's really stepped up to the plate. He might win Cy Young. He probably will. He's 2.38 ERA, 18 wins on the season, 225 strikeouts. Max Fried still doing his thing. Charlie Morton as well. Reynaldo Lopez has been very good for them in the games he's played. I mean, it's still a very good team, the Braves. And this series is honestly the hardest one to pick for me. The Padres, when looking at the Padres, their lineup is just ridiculous. Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, Jurickson Profar, Jackson Merrill, Luis Arias, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis. I mean, that is just an all-star lineup right there. Dylan Cease on the mound, along with Michael King. They still got Joe Musgrove, Matt Waldron there. Still got Yu Darvish doing his thing. This is a very tough one. I think it goes all 3 games. I'm going to go with the team with the home field advantage, the team that's hotter right now. I'm going to take the Padres, but this one, again, could definitely go either way. The NL wildcard, I think, is a lot closer than the AL. The NL, I think, is just stronger overall than the AL is. But moving over to the ALDS, first up, the number 3 seed Astros taking on the number 2 seeded Guardians. And when looking at the Guardians here, because we already talked about the Astros, when looking at the Guardians this season, 92 wins on the year. Jose Ramirez hitting 279 with 39 home runs. Another great season for him. They got Steven Kwan. Josh Naylor's having a very good season. Andres Jimenez, when looking at pitching-wise, obviously Emmanuel Clase out the bullpen has been ridiculous. Starting pitching-wise, they've been solid, nothing crazy. Tanner Bibby is kind of their guy this year. They got Tristan McKenzie. I don't know how good he's done. 5 ERA, yeah, not great. When looking at this is a close one for me. I could see this one going either way. I'm going to take the Guardians just because of the fact they're at home. I feel like the Guardians are usually pretty good in the playoffs. I love their bullpen, one of the best bullpens in the league. They definitely have the best closer in the league, which I think is crucial in the playoffs. I think if they can keep it close, they're going to win a lot of these games in the playoffs. I think they do. I think they beat the Astros in 5. I think it goes all 5 games, but I think the Guardians get them. The Orioles and the Yankees here. This one is just a battle of the Titans here. We talked about the Orioles They got a loaded lineup, a loaded pitching rotation. When looking at the Yankees, though, you could say the same exact thing. They won 94 games this year, one of the best rosters in the league, one of the best records in the league. Anthony Volpe, Gleyber Torres, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Alex Verdugo, Giancarlo Stanton, Anthony Rizzo. I mean, it is a crazy, crazy team. When looking at the pitching, however, it's not necessarily as strong as their offense is. Carlos Rodon, Nestor Cortez, Marcus Stroman, Luis Gil, all those guys have had very good seasons, but nothing too crazy. Um, this is a close one, very close. The Yankees having it at home. I'm going to stick with my pick that I've been making in the past MLB All Around episodes, though. I'm going to take the Orioles. I don't know why. The Orioles in 7. I just believe that overall they have the more well-rounded team, more balanced team, and I think that comes into play and comes in handy in the playoffs. I'm going to take the Orioles to win this one, but definitely could go either way. Both these teams are World Series contenders. Both these teams, I believe, can win the World Series. I'm going to take the Orioles, though. When looking at the NL side of things, the Brewers take on the Phillies. We've talked about the Brewers. Their offense is very solid. When looking at the Phillies, though, I think their offense is on par, if not maybe even a little bit better than the Brewers. And their pitching is by far better. They have, in my opinion, the best starting rotation in baseball, one of the best bullpens in baseball. So for that reason, I'm going to take the Phillies here pretty easily. Did I say the Orioles series in 7? I meant to say Orioles in 5. Guardians, we will say, I think I already said it, but I'm going to take the Guardians also in 5. This Phillies series, I could honestly see a sweep. I'll give the Brewers a game. I'll take the Phillies in 4, though. The Padres-Dodgers. This is another series I think goes all 5 games. When looking at the Dodgers, again, all-star lineup here. Two teams that are just absolutely loaded on both sides of the ball, pitching-wise and hitting-wise. The Dodgers win almost 100 games this year, led by Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Mookie Betts, Gavin Lux. It's Max Muncy. It's a very good team. They got Jason Hayward still as well. The Astros have Jason Hayward. The Dodgers traded Jason Hayward to the Astros. My apologies there. I forgot about that. This is going off the top of my head. Their players. Anyways, pitching wise, I worry a little bit. I mean, Yamamoto's been good. 3 ERA. Tyler Glasnow, obviously a very good pitcher. Gavin Stone's had a nice season. I do worry a little bit how those pitchers will play in the playoffs, because none of them, I feel like, Yamamoto's a rookie. Gavin Stone I haven't really seen do much. The only guy I can really feel like I can trust is Tyler Glasnow, which is good. They have their ace. But ultimately, both these teams are hot right now. There's always some of these bye teams that lose to wild card teams just because how hot they are. I think the Padres get him. The Dodgers are one of those teams you just can't trust in the playoffs. I think they lose early again. I got the Padres winning in 5. But this one, again, definitely could go either way. With that being said, let's look at the ALCS, though. 2-seeded Guardians taking on the 4-seeded Orioles. This is one we've seen a whole lot of times in my previous videos, and I typically take the Orioles here, but I'm going to switch it this time. I'm going to take the Guardians, and I'm going to tell you the reason. First of all, the Guardians will have the home field advantage, which is very important. I think people forget about that. Very important stuff. One of the best playoff atmospheres. Again, they have great hitters. They have good pitchers. The difference maker here, I think their bullpen is much better than the Orioles, and I think a lot of these playoff games will be decided after the 5th, 6th inning. I think the Guardians, they've played the Orioles very well this season. I like the Guardians just based off the matchup and what we've seen in the regular season here. I'm going to take the Guardians in 7 games. The Orioles also still a very young team. I know we say that a lot. But yes, they are still a young team. I think the Guardians get it done and get out and move on to the World Series. When looking at the National League, the Phillies take on the Padres, and it's kind of a similar story here. I think the Phillies and Padres lineups, hitting lineups, you could go back and forth on who you think's better. I think it's pretty 50-50. When looking at the pitching rotations, I think it's the Phillies by a good amount. I think the Phillies get there in the bullpen as well, advantage. Pitching matters a whole lot more in the playoffs than hitting. I think the Phillies, also with the home field advantage, get the job done over the Padres in 6. Can I see the Padres making the World Series? Yes. But I think the Phillies have a very good team this year, and I think they get to the World Series. Now this sets up a matchup that we haven't really seen. The Cleveland Guardians, both the 2 seeds, the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Now in this one, I'm going to be honest with you. I know who I'm going to take here pretty easily. When looking at the teams, I think the Phillies have the clear lineup hitting advantage. I don't know who would get home field advantage here. The Phillies, obviously, with the best playoff atmosphere in the playoffs right now, and probably in the MLB. The starting pitching rotation, I will give to the Phillies. I think they have the best in the league. I've already said that. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, and that's just a loaded group. Bullpen-wise, I think it's pretty even. I'd probably give the edge to the Guardians, but what it comes down to is I think the Phillies, we've said this along in years past, the Phillies are a roster that's built for the playoffs. They won over 90 games this season, got in as the 2 seed. The fact that they're this high of a seed, and I still believe they're built for the playoffs. The pitching is better than it's ever been. The bullpen's better than it's ever been in years past. We've seen them make the World Series in years past. Keep that in mind. I think the pitching and bullpen is much better than it has been before. I think hitting-wise, it's pretty similar, but like I said, pitching and defense are more important in the playoffs than hitting. I think the Phillies are built to win it this year. I think this is the year. Everything's leading up. Everything's culminating. The offense is elite. The pitching is elite. I think the Phillies get it done over the Guardians. Honestly, just based off the matchup, I think they win in 5, maybe 6. I'm going to say the Phillies in 5, honestly. I think the Phillies are my team. I've picked them a lot for a long time. I just believe they're the best team in the league. I'm going to take the Phillies here. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what you agree. Let me know what you disagree. Give me your picks. Give me your predictions. Who you got winning the World Series? I'd be curious to learn. Love to debate y'all in the comments. With all that being said, though, make sure you subscribe if you're new. Turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload. Like I said, NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, and of course MLB. So if any of that interests you, make sure you subscribe. Turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we post one of those videos. Like I said, points in the year we're posting 4 times a week, so make sure you tune in to the channel. It's time to be on the channel. Links in the description, as always, X, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Follow those, join those. With all that being said, though, that's going to do it for the MLB playoff predictions. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for our college football top 25 rankings. Thank you for watching.